Okay, I think that we should be live. I am very sorry that we haven't done one of these in probably a month now. So that ADP that you can find on Patreon definitely needs to be updated. We definitely need to get some new drafts coming in because free agency changed a lot of things, as well as these rookies. We have some pro day numbers, and you can sit here and you can debate what these pro day numbers actually mean compared to what we usually have with the NFL Combine. But regardless, we can all agree that it is going to have an impact. So, what we need to be doing here is we need to be updating this ADP. We're going to do that by continuing these mock drafts. And a very important thing with this mock draft as well is the fact that we are getting those Dynasty startup drafts going right now through Patreon. Now, we are going to do this as slow drafts. So, for anybody wanting to join one of these, the majority of them will be slow drafts. So you kind of draft through your app. Obviously, the timer is like 6-8 hours, but the majority of people don't take nearly that long. This just makes it a lot more flexible for anybody that wants to come out and participate, and we don't have to all agree on one time. Now, I will say that for one of these Dynasty startup drafts, just because we have so many people that want in, we can probably figure it out. We can probably figure it out how to go through and actually have it live. That way we can live stream it. We can live stream a real Dynasty startup that we are going to be doing on Patreon, and y'all can roast some teams. We can have some real money attached to it, and it should be a lot of fun. But anyway, let's go through and oh crap, we started streaming a minute ago. We already have 30 people out here, and y'all have destroyed that like button. Thank y'all all so much for coming out so early and going down there and hitting that like button. Okay, let me send out the link to Patreon real quick so y'all can come through, DM me if y'all want the invitation to the mock draft. I'm sure y'all know how to do this by now. Let me just get that link. That way you don't have to go to the separate Patreon app. You can just stay on YouTube and click it and go through here. Okay, perfect. Got that out. Let's pin that to the top. And let me see if we have any questions that we should be answering as we wait for people to shoot us those DMs on Patreon. Actually, before I read those questions, let me actually grab the link to send out those invites on Patreon, because I'm sure we have a decent amount of people who have already DM'd us over there once they saw us go live. And also, I know that I'm probably sitting a lot closer to the computer than usual, so I maybe look a little weird, but I don't care. Let's get into this. Let's send these out. And I'm sorry if you're having to hear the mouse. That will stop in a second. Okay, yeah, we got about 6 or 7 links out already, so I'm sure that this should be filled in just 1 second. Okay, so Dom Cost coming in says 1.07 Superflex. Who are you looking at? Real quick, since we're on Patreon, let's pull up my rookie rankings for the 107. Off the top of my head, it's going to be Jamar Chase, because I want those 2 running backs and I want the 4 quarterbacks in a Superflex league ahead of any wide receiver. But I think at the 107, I'm going to be looking at Jamar Chase. If Jamar Chase isn't there, then you could go with Kyle Pitts. But it's going to be dependent on what the first 6 people do in your draft. If they leave you one of those running backs, if they leave you one of those quarterbacks, then the choice is easy. You get to take one of those top tier players, but maybe you decide to go with Chase or Pitts depending on how the NFL draft plays out. Okay, so Bruno coming out and asking Mason, Josh Allen, and Odell Beckham Jr. for J.K. Dobbins, Tua, the 112, and the 212. Who wins 12-team Superflex League? Okay, so obviously Allen is the best player in this deal. You can look at Allen, who's currently going in the middle of the first round of Dynasty startup drafts, kind of equivalent to maybe you can say J.K. Dobbins and the 112. I think you can make the argument there. I would prefer Dobbins in the 112 just because I'm going to like the rookie that we can get in that range, but it's still an extremely fair trade at that point. And then you also look at the fact that it's pretty much just Tua and the 212 versus Odell Beckham Jr., and I would rather have Tua Tagovailoa over Odell in a Superflex format. So easily the Dobbins and Tua side for me, to be honest, and I'm someone that is way too high on Odell. Y'all know that I can never get over my bias with him. I just sent out a trade in a Dynasty Patreon Flock League that already exists. Was sent Derrick Henry, 27-year-old running back, only 1 year left of guaranteed money on his contract, for Jerry Jeudy and Odell Beckham Jr. Now that league is best ball. That league you only need to start 1 running back, so league settings really played into that. But still, I find myself consistently overpaying for Odell Beckham Jr. Even now, I want the Tua side there. I'd much rather have Tua Tagovailoa over Odell Beckham Jr. Okay. So looks like this should be filled, sent out like 15 links on Patreon. So I'm assuming that this draft is going to get filled really quickly. But let's just wait one more second and answer a few questions. Okay, Griffin asking, do I have to be a Patreon member to participate? How we do these mock drafts, regardless of if it's rookie mocks or dynasty startup mocks, is I pretty much let everybody on Patreon get the first opportunity, because the people on Patreon, they're supporting the channel. They're allowing me to go through and make videos every single day and spend literally my entire day. Y'all don't understand how busy I am making videos for all these different channels. So I'm always going to prioritize getting them the invites first. But if we don't get enough DMs on Patreon of people wanting in, maybe they're busy, maybe they are tired of mock drafting with us, then we can send it out in the YouTube live chat. But it looks like today it's probably just going to be Patreon members. But usually, at least with those rookie mock drafts, whenever we can do like 4 or 5 in a live stream, that's when we can get some people from the YouTube live chat in there. But I just have to always give the first priority to the people supporting the show on Patreon. And I'm assuming that most people understand that, just because, I mean, you gotta go for the people that are paying for the content and doing everything I can to make sure they're happy. Okay, let's go through. And CGA says, would Jones going to San Francisco and being the starter right away move him above Zach Wilson and Trey Lance? So would Mac, that is a really good question, because here y'all know that I'm not a massive fan of Mac Jones. I admittedly was way too low on him, and yes, he has moved up our Dynasty rookie rankings, but still, he has no rushing upside in the slightest, and we're looking at San Francisco, though, being one of the best situations for these rookie quarterbacks to land. So it's kind of a difficult situation where I definitely prefer the player in Zach Wilson. I prefer the player in Trey Lance with what I believe their fantasy upside is. But if Mac Jones gets that top 3 NFL draft capital to go along with that, he is also attached to Kyle Shanahan, George Kittle, Brandon Iuke, Deebo Samuel, then I think you have to consider taking him over a Zach Wilson, who isn't going to be an elite rusher in his own right. And we know that he is most likely going to be going to the New York Jets. And just compare the two weapons. You have a coach that we really don't know what to expect with New York. I know a ton of players want to play for him. Versus Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, you're going with the offensive genius in Kyle Shanahan. Then you have Chris Herndon versus George Kittle. Probably going to go George Kittle. Then you have Corey Davis versus Brandon Iuke. Got to go Brandon Iuke. Then you have Jamison Crowder or Denzel Mims, whoever you want to say the second wide receiver there is, versus Deebo Samuel. I'm going San Francisco there. And San Francisco has a much better offensive line. So I'll say, if Mac Jones goes to San Francisco, yes, we're going to have to probably move him up ahead of Zach Wilson. And depending where Trey Lance lands, then we can make that argument from there. But anyway, let's switch this over real quick. Let's get this mock draft up and going. So this is going to be a Superflex Tight End Premium Dynasty mock draft. And this is going to be the format for pretty much all Flock Patreon leagues. I want to make sure they're Superflex. Makes it a lot more fun. I'm definitely not going to be doing any one quarterback startups. I promise you that. And to go along with this, they're going to be tight end premium because we want the tight end position to matter. So here we are taking the 101 just because it's the easiest pick, and I don't really care about mocking. I think that we are confident with our skills going into these startups. Besides, what I'd rather do is I would rather look at the other people taking the hard picks and giving y'all my opinion on maybe someone who takes an Ezekiel Elliott at the end of the first, beginning of the second, if I think that was a reach, and so on. But at the 101, you have an easy decision of Patrick Mahomes. At the 102, you have Kyler Murray going off the board, and I know everybody in the chat is going to absolutely hate that selection. I understand that Kyler generally goes around the 105, 106, 107 in these Dynasty Superflex startups, but I am perfectly fine with Kyler Murray at the 102 because Kyler Murray going into year 3 has already shown us that he can be an above-average NFL passing quarterback, and to go along with this, we know that he has that elite rushing upside where in 2020, he just had a stretch where it was rushing touchdown, rushing touchdown, rushing touchdown, rushing touchdown every single game. And when you have that type of upside, I think you can explain away the pick there at the 102, even though I know a ton of people are going to hate it. Then also you have Christian McCaffrey going off the board at the 103, Saquon Barkley at the 104, very standard. I will say Barkley, some startup drafts, if people really don't know what they're doing, you're going to see him fall to the end of the first, the beginning of the second. I think that's absolutely absurd. If you're playing in a league with crazy settings, maybe you could see that be the right decision. But no, Saquon Barkley for me has to be a top 5 pick in these Dynasty startups because we know that he is probably the best athlete in the entire NFL. He is probably a top 3 pass catching running back, only behind Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. To go along with this, He is younger than pretty much any of these other elite running backs and still on that rookie contract. So Saquon Barkley, completely fine taking him at the 105. Dalvin Cook at the 106 is going to be the first massive reach in my opinion. And I understand sitting here and going, hey Mason, you don't know. We are going to be building a contending team. And if that happens in the following rounds, then I guess you could excuse away the selection of Dalvin Cook at the 106. But here, Dalvin Cook is a running back that is already on year 2 of his second NFL contract. Historically, this tends to be where you have to start to worry about running backs. Not to mention that Dalvin Cook has a significant injury, some history dating all the way back to FSU. So Dalvin Cook at the 106, I don't like the pick. I mean, he is going to be probably my running back 2 in 2021 for redraft formats, but this is Dynasty. I think you have to take Jonathan Taylor over Dalvin Cook, and it's not going to be close. I would rather take these quarterbacks like a Justin Herbert, a Lamar Jackson, or we can go down on the list. You could look at a Trevor Lawrence, a Russell Wilson, a Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow. I'd rather have any of those players over Dalvin Cook for their long-term security. I'd also even rather have Alvin Kamara over Dalvin Cook at the running back position as well. So I really don't like the pick there of Dalvin Cook at the 106. Jonathan Taylor at the 109, really love that selection because when you're looking at Jonathan Taylor, not only is he going to be playing on an NFL offense with one of the best offensive lines in the league, but to go along with this, we see Jonathan Taylor was surprisingly a very good receiving running back in his rookie season. That was the one question mark we had on his profile because you looked at Taylor, you knew, hey, this is going to be one of the best pure runners in the entire NFL, day one on the field. And he is that Saquon Barkley. He's that Antonio Gibson type athlete. So he checked those massive 2 boxes, finds himself in a good situation in Indianapolis at the same time. But the one thing was, we didn't know exactly what to expect with the amount of targets he was going to be seeing coming out of the backfield, coming out of Wisconsin. But he answered that question, year 1. Have to be very excited about him going forward. So Jonathan Taylor, have to say, probably the best pick in the first round. And Aaron Jones here at the 112, hate this pick. To be completely honest, there should be no planet where Aaron Jones is going ahead of Alvin Kamara. There should be no planet where Aaron Jones is going ahead of Russell Wilson. I guess you could say Deshaun Watson with the Deshaun Watson question marks, but he still shouldn't be going ahead of Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry, Trevor Lawrence would ahead of him in this draft, but y'all get the point. There are multiple players on the board that I would prefer having over Aaron Jones. I mean, the fact that Cam Akers goes behind Aaron Jones when Cam Akers is 21 years old, Aaron Jones is 26, is absolutely absurd. So, yeah, can't get behind the Aaron Jones pick there. And Alvin Kamara falling to the 203, this is the range where I think you can start to consider Alvin Kamara. I probably would prefer to go with a little bit of a younger running back just because I am that ageist. Y'all know that I'm sitting here and scared of all of these guys on their second contracts because the first time they have a down season, that dynasty value is just going to plummet. I mean, look what happened to Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson. And you can make the argument saying, hey, Mason, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, all these other running backs are way better. They project to be significant players until they're 28, 29. And I'm sitting here going, yes, that can be true. It can be true that Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook are elite and at the top of their game for the next 3 years, and these picks look great. But what can also be true is the fact that, say, DeAndre Swift has a poor season in 2021. Then what you're looking at is you're looking at a situation where we sit with Miles Sanders right now, where Miles Sanders is still worth like a third-round dynasty startup pick, still someone that has a decent amount of value attached to him. Yet if you see a Dalvin Cook possibly take that step back this year, people are going to start to panic. People are going to start to plummet him down their rankings to the point where he's maybe being viewed in the same tier of a Melvin Gordon only 18 months from now. And I know that sounds crazy to say because where we sit right now, Dalvin Cook is an elite running back. But people playing Dynasty change their minds very, very quickly. So that's just something that you have to understand when you're trying to calculate these risks. Okay, so now let's go through and check the general chat real quick and see if we have any questions. Okay, Quantum Football saying, is this an actual startup or is this just a mock draft? This is just a mock draft here. If this is going to be an actual startup, I'm not going to be commentating on these picks. We're probably going to live stream a real Dynasty startup draft from Patreon. Probably not this week. Hopefully next week once we get some of these drafts going. The majority of them are going to be slow drafts where I can't really live stream them because the clock's going to be too long. But I will definitely make sure that we have one Dynasty startup for the people that want to be in a live stream and want to show what they can really do in these Dynasty leagues. We'll make sure that we are live streaming that, but it's going to be a little bit different. I can't sit here and tell you my opinion on every single pick when we're doing that real startup that has money attached to it, because I'm going to be trying to win the league. I'm not going to be trying to get sniped on my selections. Okay, but anyway, Joseph coming in says, I auto-picked Adams, my bad. Man, if you tell me real quick in the live chat where you would have gone outside of Davante Adams, I can go through and edit that pick for you. If you wanted Davante Adams, that's completely fine. Okay, it looks like we may have to replace an owner in D-Law. Please, 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 if you're in the chat, man, come out and let me know if you are going to be back before we have to replace you. Okay, but anyway, Swift going off the board here at the 208. That is absolutely absurd. This is, let's count how many players I would have taken DeAndre Swift ahead of. I would have taken him ahead of Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Davante Adams, Joe Burrow, Alvin Kamara, Cam Akers in the same tier. You can make the argument for either or. Also have to take him ahead of Aaron Jones. Love that pick there by Jake. And if y'all don't know who Jake James is, he is the guy that is running all the ADP on Patreon for us. Want to give him a massive, massive thank you. And that ADP on Patreon, guys, I know we talk about Patreon all the time, and the majority of the stuff is behind a paywall, but no, all that ADP that Jake is collecting is completely free for anybody to view. You don't have to be a subscriber on Patreon or anything to access that ADP. And now here, coming at the 2-3 turn, we are probably going to be doing something that most people don't expect. Now, Dobbins off the board, that kind of cements this. Now, I understand, guys, I'm going to be going a little bit off the board here, but what we talk about all the time is drafting teams that correlate together to reach a higher overall upside. And if we're going to be doing that, and our first pick was Patrick Mahomes, here we can get the trifecta for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. We can tap Tyreek Hill, where I don't know if we would be going Tyreek Hill in a vacuum. I think I would actually prefer Deshaun Watson over Tyreek in a vacuum, but we can make the stack work. That's going to be something I'm looking to do. And we're also going to be going Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Really am excited about this. Here, we're pretty much making a bet saying, hey, if the Kansas City Chiefs access that 2018 upside that they had, I believe Mahomes went for over 50 touchdowns that year, then nobody can stop this team. Nobody can come close to our weekly overall point output. Okay, Deshaun Watson at the 302. Okay, Dragon Isles is coming out. This is probably my favorite start of the draft so far, is Kyler Murray, J.K. Dobbins, and Deshaun Watson. Really like that. I think the second best start of this draft is going to be from Jake with Josh Allen and DeAndre Swift. Baskin has a really good start as well. Let's see what these next two picks are. I think it's going to be a little bit interesting as running back is drying up. I personally would probably be looking at Travis Etienne right now. If I was Baskin, yep, there he goes, Travis Etienne right there. Now, okay, there are two teams that just stand out absurdly. I mean, right now, Dragon Isles and Baskin are ridiculous right now. Barkley, Harris, and Travis Etienne. That is one hell of a start if you can find quarterback production later on. Okay, also, guys, please, please, please go down there and drop a like if you have not already on the stream. If you're enjoying it, drop a like. That's the #1 thing you could do to support the show outside of joining on Patreon. But obviously, it's free to drop a like. It costs money to join on Patreon. Here, we have a couple teams going 3 running backs out the gate. You have Ben, you have Baskin, you have G-Pick. And I know that a lot of people want to say that the wide receivers are falling to a point where they are massive value at this range, but you're looking at a Joe Mixon, a Miles Sanders, compared to a running back that's going to be available in the 5th round, and there is just a massive opportunity cost and a massive difference between those two players, where if you're looking at the wide receiver position right now and you say, hey, the best wide receiver available on the board is possibly Stephon Diggs, versus the wide receivers that are going to be available in the 6th round, like a Mike Evans and Amari Cooper, there's not that big of a gap between all those guys. Okay, so we have our second rookie quarterback coming off the board in Justin Fields. And if we're tracking this with the order that the rookies are coming off, you have Trevor Lawrence at the 101, Najee Harris at the 102, Travis Etienne at the 103, and Justin Fields at the 104. So something that you would expect to see in a Dynasty rookie draft. So nothing too crazy here. I will shout out the value that we saw No Capsules get with Antonio Gibson. Love that pick of Antonio Gibson in the 3rd round. Here with Gibson, we have to remember that he profiled to be a running back that was going to catch a ton of passes coming out of Memphis last year. And I know we kind of saw him operate as a 1st and 2nd down grinder at the start of the year. I'm sorry, all the way through the end of the year, to be honest, with J.D. McKissick taking those targets out of the backfield. but we can sit here and go, hey, he has the upside to catch those passes. And if he is starting to get those J.D. McKissic targets and you add their points per game together, I mean, Antonio Gibson has the upside to be a top 3 running back overall. Okay, so Quantum Football is out here in the live chat, and he's saying he prefers Baskin over Dragon Isles. So let me know what y'all think here, guys. I think by far and away the best start of this startup draft is going to come from either Dragon Isles or Baskin. Now spam it in the live chat real quick so I can get a feel on what y'all are thinking. Do y'all prefer the start with the 2 elite quarterbacks in Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson, and then the 1 running back on their rookie contract in J.K. Dobbins? Or do you prefer the start with the 3 elite running backs all on their rookie contracts in Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris, and Travis Etienne? But please spam that in the chat so I can get a feel with what y'all are thinking. Okay, so Travis Kelsey going off the board at the very end of the 3rd in a tight end premium format. I think that is a fantastic selection of Travis Kelsey, someone that I considered over Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 3rd round, but I'm just too much of an ageist. We have to go with the 21-year-old running back over Travis Kelsey, who, yes, saw a historic pace for a tight end last season, but still, he's getting older. Okay, so it looks like the chat is a little bit split on who they like between Dragon and Baskin. And Leonardo coming out says depends on the 4th pick. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let me know what y'all would do. If you were Dragon or if you were Baskin, what would you be doing right now in this 4th round? Neither of them have a wide receiver. Do you think you just go best wide receiver available? Do you think you go with the tight end here? Let me know what y'all are thinking in the live chat. Okay, so Leonardo coming out says, could you rank Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson, Cam Akers, and DeAndre Swift? At this point, with the trade of Matthew Stafford to LA, I think you have to go with Cam Akers over DeAndre Swift for that number 1 overall spot. Then you're going to go with DeAndre Swift at number 2 for his pass catching ability. Then I think you want to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Antonio Gibson, as crazy as that sounds. And trust me, guys, I have Antonio Gibson, at least I had him in so many Dynasty leagues. We were drafting him every single time. We had the option to, outside of 1 or 2 drafts where I may have taken A.J. Dillon instead, but at least we flipped A.J. Dillon for a profit. I love Antonio Gibson, but the fact is Antonio Gibson is attached to a Washington football team that has Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing the ball, and I know Fitzpatrick is an upgrade over who they had last season, but they don't have Mahomes. It's not that top overall offense in the NFL. So I think because of that, we give the small edge to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay. So real quick, Jamar Chase going as the 5th rookie off the board, ahead of Trey Lance, ahead of Zach Wilson, ahead of Kyle Pitts. That is extremely interesting. Then you have Javonte Williams going as the 6th rookie off the board, ahead of A.J. Brown. Now, I will say there is nothing I hate more than seeing Javonte Williams go off the board ahead of A.J. Brown, ahead of some other players like Darren Waller in a tight end premium format. We go through, we look at what's available at the quarterback position still. I mean, you have Trey Lance, you have Zach Wilson. I just think it's absolutely crazy to take Javonte Williams in the 4th round. I mean, let me know if I'm just overthinking this. I understand that you want to be waiting on these wide receivers because you can get some very quality options in the 5th and 6th round. But at this point, A.J. Brown behind Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams split a backfield with Michael Carter Jr. last season. Javonte Williams is not going to be nearly the dynasty value of A.J. Brown over the next 3 years, regardless of positions. So that's a horrible pick in my opinion. I mean, you have players like T. Higgins. You have players like CeeDee Lamb still available. Stephon Diggs. Yeah, no, I hate that Javonte Williams pick. And I'm sorry to be an ass about it, but y'all know that I give you my honest opinion every single stream. So that's something that we have to do. Okay, Jack coming out says Chase is just a younger A.J. Brown. Yeah, but the thing here is we've seen it with A.J. Brown before. A.J. Brown is a much safer option, and you can make the argument that A.J. Brown has number 1 overall wide receiver in his range of outcomes. So yeah, no, A.J. Brown going behind Jamar Chase is also crazy. I think A.J. Brown should potentially be the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Getting him in the 4th round here was a fantastic value. Crazy to see him go behind Jamar Chase and Javonte Williams. That is just all rookie hype right there, getting out of control. Okay, so Backa coming in says Ryan Tannehill will be around for another 6 to 7 years most likely. Will you find elite production anywhere else? Okay, here I'll say, man, You cannot make that assumption, saying Ryan Tannehill is going to be around for another 6 or 7 years. You have no idea how hard it is to actually project that far out. So don't be saying that, man. So here, I don't want to go with the wide receivers, but it looks like they're probably going to be the best value on the board. I think what we do is we go QB with one of these picks, probably leaning Zach Wilson because he's not going to make it back to us, and someone that, based on the fact that he is going to get that number 2 overall draft capital, he should be a very safe option. I like Tua, but Tua, before we set his name on the stream, maybe had a shot at getting back. Jalen Hurts has definitely more upside than Zach Wilson. I'm just questioning the long-term value. But before we have to make that decision point on a quarterback, let's come in and let's take CeeDee Lamb at the end of the 4th round as our wide receiver 2. And now we can sit here and we can debate which quarterback that we are wanting. It's probably going to be down between Zach Wilson, Tua, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, no, we're just going to go Zach Wilson here. We're just going to have to do so. The more you read about it, the more that people are just coming out and talking about his elite upside to possibly be up there in that Justin Herbert talking category. And I know it's a bad situation, most likely going to the New York Jets, but still, I think as a cornerstone asset for your Dynasty team, that's going to be a safe investment you can make in the 5th round of a Dynasty startup. Okay, so Jack coming out says, AJ Brown has knee issues that scared me. Man, someone else in the chat come out and give me an argument to be made that AJ Brown should be going behind Javonte Williams, behind Jamar Chase, behind DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he shouldn't be going behind DK Metcalf in a single startup with the rumors circulating around Russell Wilson in Seattle to go along with this. The fact that, guys, Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith are both out of Tennessee. And I know they brought in a secondary wide receiver. I mean, here, let's address the wide receiver they brought in. Coming from LA, before that coming from Texas A&M, Josh Reynolds does not profile to be a wide receiver, seeing nearly the amount of targets per game that you had from Corey Davis. And to go along with this, we also see that Jonnu Smith was taking targets, and not all of those can go to Anthony Firkser. So A.J. Brown was a wide receiver that was elite in his first 2 years based on his efficiency, and the one thing that held him back from being that truly outlier, like a Devontae Adams or like a Michael Thomas from 2 seasons ago, was the fact that the volume simply wasn't there. Now we can sit here and go, crap, A.J. Brown is probably going to get the volume, and he's already had that elite level of efficiency. Safe to say that A.J. Brown, best value in this Dynasty startup. I mean, not even close, in my opinion. You can make the argument that I really like the CeeDee Lamb pick at the end of the 4th. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased there because that was my own selection. But yeah, A.J. Brown, I love that pick. Okay, JN coming out says, I'd take James Robinson 1,000 times before Javonte Williams. Yeah, man. That is one thing that I want to see the NFL draft first. I want to see what kind of draft capital Javonte Williams is going to get. I want to see what other running back that we are going to see the Jacksonville Jaguars bring in. I will say I agree with you. I want James Robinson over Javonte Williams as it currently stands. But if we are wrong about Javonte Williams and he gets that 2nd round NFL draft capital, quite possibly by a team like the Arizona Cardinals, then it's a completely different scenario. Okay, so Devonta Smith going off the board in the 5th round, and y'all know that I am on record to being a guy that really likes Devonta Smith, but you're looking at some of the other wide receivers in this range. You have a DJ Moore, and I probably shouldn't be bringing up some of these names because I should probably be hoping that they make it back to me, and that's why I'm saying that when we start streaming these real-life Patreon Dynasty startup drafts where I'm entering a buy-in and we're all playing for a prize pool, I'm probably not going to be doing this. I'm probably not going to be going pick by pick and telling y'all who I would have preferred. But anyway, Devonta Smith, there are a lot of players I'd rather have over Devonta Smith because of the wide receiver position. It's completely different than running back. I'm not too concerned with their age. I'd probably rather have a Mike Evans. I would definitely rather have a DJ Moore. I would rather have a T. Higgins. I would rather have a Terry McLaurin. I mean, there are a ton of guys I would rather have over Devonta Smith just because we know that, yes, I can really like the wide receiver prospect, but at the same time, we're looking at it and going, you know what? The hit rates with these wide receivers aren't nearly as high as you would see from a wide receiver like Mike Evans, who just continuously has 1,000-yard seasons over and over and over and over again. So yeah, because of that, I don't like the Devonta Smith pick, even though I like the player. Kyle Pitts here at the 508. Now, y'all know that I've been on record saying that I would prefer TJ Hawkinson or Noah Fant, tight ends that have already proven to us that they can be difference makers at the NFL level. And you don't have to sit around waiting for that 3 years of development. You're going to get that production right away. And they still have that extremely long outlook based on them being very young. But Kyle Pitts at the 508, I do like the value. Maybe it's just because tight ends in this range are looking like nice values. So let me know what y'all think of that Kyle Pitts selection. I know that I've seen him go ahead of Darren Waller in some startup drafts, which that is absolutely absurd. But at this point, with the elite measurables that he has and looking like a generational prospect, I can't get too upset with anybody that wants Kyle Pitts over Noah Fant or TJ Hawkinson. That just wouldn't be my own taste. Okay. Leonardo coming in says, does TJ Hawkinson have top 3 upside? Yeah, TJ Hawkinson easily has top 3 upside. And I know that Jared Goff coming in at quarterback is a significant downgrade from Matthew Stafford. But at the same time, you're looking at an offense that has so many targets available, and Jared Goff isn't necessarily a gunslinger that's going to be looking extremely far downfield. So I think that you're looking at TJ Hawkinson to shape up to be in a nice situation. Yeah, the offense isn't going to be that good, and generally it's a very easy way to play fantasy. Target players that are going to have very productive NFL offenses. I mean, look at the start of our draft. We have Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire to start it off. But when you have a tight end that should see maybe 15% of his team's targets, like TJ Hawkinson, and he had that elite prospect profile coming in, yeah, he easily has top 3 upside. Okay, guys, if y'all have not already, what are you doing? Go down there, drop a like on the live stream. Helps us out so much, get recommended to new listeners. And also, let me know what player has not been taken that you would be looking at regardless of your team situation. Just say you had a balanced team in a startup draft through 5 rounds. What player do you think is the best value on the board right now? I tend to think in this range, you're going to be looking at wide receivers as the best value, but this draft has been a little bit different. You haven't seen the quarterbacks just completely condensed at the top here. You see them spread out a little bit more, and this is something you don't usually experience in a dynasty startup draft. You usually don't experience the fact that we haven't seen a significant quarterback run yet. Usually in these dynasty superflex drafts, what you'll have is you'll have that tier 1 of quarterback all get clumped together and go together. And then you'll have a gap where people change their minds. Then they're like, hey, let's get our running backs. Let's get our wide receivers. You may have 1 to 2 quarterbacks go in a few separate rounds. And then the quarterback 2 run happens. Here, that really hasn't happened. Yes, you've had little pockets of quarterbacks being selected, like at the end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th, right here. But mainly it's been spread out. Let me know if y'all been seeing that in your own dynasty startup drafts, because historically, every dynasty startup that I've participated in, which has probably been up to 20 at this point, and 17 or 18 of them have been superflex. Now, yes, the majority of them were last offseason, the offseason before that, the offseason before that, the offseason before that. I've not been diving into a ton this year outside of the mock drafts we've been doing on the channel. But let me know if this has been something y'all have experienced. Okay, Dakota asking, is this tight end premium? Yes, sir, this is tight end premium, which is why I said I didn't mind the TJ Hawkinson, the Kyle Pitts selection in the 5th round. In the tight end premium format, even in a regular format at this point, with the concerns with his size, I would prefer Kyle Pitts over Devonta Smith, even though I know that I'm on record earlier this offseason saying that we wanted Devonta Smith over Kyle Pitts and over Jamar Chase. But I did put the caveat in there saying until we get his official size measurement. And I thought that if we came and saw him at 185 pounds, we were going to be completely fine with Devonta Smith. But him just saying he weighs 170 is scary. So that's why I really don't like that pick there at the 507. Okay, so Harrison is asking, is Brandon Iuke and Chris Godwin still available? Okay, so Godwin just went off the board to an auto pick with Ben. Let me see if we can be filling that team real quick. What I need to do is I'm just going to put on this little piece of paper here. We've been tracking the people through the offseason that will come in, join the startup draft. Join the mock draft, and then bail halfway through, and we cannot have that going forward. So we're going to have to keep track of those names to make sure that they are not getting invites any longer. Okay, so let's go. Tim asking, this mock very interesting, shows how everybody approaches roster building so differently. Yeah, let's go through, and after we make our selections here at the end of the 6th, the beginning of the 7th, we can have a general overview of what roster construction is looking like across the league right now. But let's see, Adam Thielen going off the board at the end of the 6th. I really don't like that Adam Thielen selection. There are multiple wide receivers that are still available that I would be more interested in. Brandon Iuke going off the board at the 6'11". That is someone that I really wanted. Looks like T. Higgins is still available, so we are going to be going and taking T. Higgins in the 6th round, combining him with CeeDee Lamb for an extremely young wide receiver core. And this is why I decided to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Travis Kelsey in the 2nd round. I'm sorry, at the beginning of the 3rd round when we were getting that Kansas City stack. It's because when you take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you keep your roster flexibility. You're allowed to still create a young team that's building for the future, where if you take Travis Kelsey, you go, crap, looks like we are 100% contending now and we don't have any flexibility going forward. So we're taking T. Higgins here, and I think we may get our first tight end in Mark Andrews. I'm just making sure that we are not forgetting anyone that's still on the board. Yeah, Mark Andrews in a tight end premium format. I know that he let a lot of people down. I know that he had a ton of drops last season, and he looked bad, to be honest. But still, this is an offense that, while they aren't going to have an insane amount of passing volume, they don't really have any receiving options outside of Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown at this point, and some deep wide receivers that we're going to be talking about in tomorrow's video. So yeah, we're going to be going with Mark Andrews there in the 7th. Okay. So JN says, if he's gone, send me an invite and I'll replace him. Man, to be honest, let me figure out if I can do that. I just don't want to have to pause this draft, switch it over to my cam, and then figure all that out. So let's just go through, and right now it looks like they're making standard picks for him. You could say Carson Wentz in the 5th is a reach, but Godwin in the 6th looks fine. What I'm probably going to do is, if you see like in the 7th round him take Tyler Lockett, I'll go through and I'll replace that pick with the player that I perceive to be best available. So let's see what it does for him in the 7th round. And if it's just completely off the board, I'll go in and manually change it. That way the draft board stays fine and everything continues to run smoothly. Okay, also guys, let me know what y'all think of my selections of T. Higgins and Mark Andrews at the late 6th, early 7th round. I mean, in a tight end premium format, Mark Andrews in the 7th round, you have to get excited about. Okay, Brighton coming in says, LOL Higgins at the 6'12". Is this ADP messed up for him to fall that far? Here, real quick before I answer that, let's change this Tyler Lockett selection. Let's get this team a 2nd quarterback. Let me see. Yeah, let's give this team Daniel Jones instead. I think that's going to make a lot more sense for the roster construction. Okay, Daniel Jones here as your 2nd quarterback in the 7th round. Don't mind that pick whatsoever. And I think I would rather have Daniel Jones at this point with Kenny Golladay coming in, as well as this team possibly still going with Kyle Pitts if somehow he falls to them, but most likely going with the player like Jalen Waddle in the 1st round. So Daniel Jones, like the quarterback to be trending up, still attached on that rookie contract, so you don't have to worry about his value this season. Okay, so let's go and see if we have any other questions. Leonardo asking, is T. Higgins and Chase Claypool good enough for my wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2? Thinking of going, I'm sorry, let me slide this over so I can see it. Thinking of going hard with running backs to begin and young overall. I'll say Claypool and Higgins as your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 is fine depending on the league format. Now, y'all know that I spend pretty much, I want to say 2 hours a day just writing up team roster reviews and team strategy for people on Patreon. And a big thing that we always look at to start those reviews is we always look at the league settings that you're going to find, because it drastically changes your draft strategy and your roster construction strategy. So if you're playing in a league where you don't have a ton of flex spots and you are really looking for just those top end studs, then yeah, I'm fine with having them as your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. But if you're playing in a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers and you have a lot of flex spots to go along with that, then no, I would prefer not doing so. Okay, here we are going to be replacing Tyler Lockett with Kareem Hunt for no capsules. And guys, we're writing down no capsules name at the same time. You cannot be auto drafting here. I mean, it ruins the board. It makes me go through and change things, and I don't want to be drafting for 3 teams. I'll say that we're already having so much going on at once. Okay, Tyler Lockett finally legitimately goes off the board at the end of the 7th here. And I will say for M4G, yes, I hated his pick of Aaron Jones in the 1st round. I'm on record saying that, but we can say if you take Aaron Jones in the 1st round, you better be thinking, hey, Aaron Jones has top 3 running back upside in 2021, and I'm pushing all in to win this year, and that's exactly what he's done. Aaron Jones, Russell Wilson, Travis Kelsey, Chris Carson, Matthew Stafford, Tyler Lockett, Robert Woods. I mean, this team's probably going to be the worst team in the league if this was a real team in 2022, but for 2021, they should be a contender. So if you're going to take Aaron Jones a massive reach on a veteran at the end of the first round. I like the fact that you went through and you reached on some other veterans to complement the roster and get all your production this season. Okay, so now let's see what we have going on here. Okay, it looks like Ben is back. Perfect, perfect. Ben also apologizes in the live chat, saying, I apologize, everyone. I have to be back with work. I thought it, okay. Thank you for coming back, my man. That's all I have to say. Okay, Jake saying, took my whole queue in 3 picks. Iuke, T, and Mark. Who did you go with before, Brandon? You went with Baker Mayfield. Yeah, Baker Mayfield at the end of the 6th. Yeah, I guess you can say that's a teardrop. Here, let me know what y'all think with Baker, because obviously he looked significantly better in 2021 than he did in 2020 than he did in 2019. But the problem I have with Baker going forward is I just think that this team is going to have an overall cap on their passing volume. The fact that they really don't have a ton of wide receiver talent on the roster. And we know that this is a team that spent investment into the defensive side of the ball. So they're probably going to be trying to be a little bit more game manager rather than going and having Baker Mayfield be a gunslinger. So please let me know what y'all think of Baker. He also really doesn't have a ton of rushing upside, which we know is something that we always look to go and target. Okay, Kenyon Drake at the end of the 8th. Kenyon Drake in the middle of the 8th. We definitely have to change that. We are changing this pick right here. And I'm sorry that we are having to do this. I'm just going to be going with best player available, Rondale Moore over Kenyon Drake every single time. There's no way that we can let Kenyon Drake go off the board for an auto pick in the 8th round. Okay, Melvin Gordon going off in the middle of the 8th as well. Here, I want to say that's a reach, but it looks like Melvin Gordon is going to be getting the volume this year in Denver. We have Philip Lindsay out of the situation, so we sit here and go, who else is going to be getting touches in these backfield? It looks like Royce Freeman's probably just going to be a pure handcuff running back. This team, if they can do anything to address the quarterback position, if they even bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, I'd be extremely excited. I think they have a ton of potential. It's a good offensive line. They have one of the best young wide receiver cores in the entire NFL with an elite tight end, at least an elite receiving tight end to go along with this. So Melvin Gordon, if he is the future down running back on the Denver Broncos and this team can address the quarterback position, I think he should be in line to see a decent amount of production in 2021. Just the thing is, Melvin Gordon looks straight up washed. So are you willing to take a running back that looks like he doesn't really have that much talent left at this point of the draft? But anyway, we are about to be up on the board in the 8th round, and we need a running back desperately. So we have 2 quarterbacks in Mahomes and Zach Wilson. We have 3 wide receivers in Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and T. Higgins, a tight end in Mark Andrews, and 1 running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So you can say that our roster is balanced at this point, but still, I think that the running back position is going to be a position of need, yet you go to the board and really there is nobody to get excited about. There are guys down here like someone that maybe at the top of this list for me, Chuba Hubbard, is like the 30th player down in ADP. So instead, we're probably just going to continue to go with the wide receiver because the wide receiver looks like it is the current value at tight end. After Mark Andrews, it looked like there was a significant drop-off. There's one player I could be intrigued in. Maybe he's down the ADP list. So yeah, let's see. Probably going to be going tight end and wide receiver, or maybe double tapping wide receiver. Let's see what Dragon Isles decides to do here. And let's catch up on his draft because we really like the start. Okay, so he goes Amari, Iuke, and Claypool as his first 3 wide receivers. Yeah, no, this is such a good team. I hate that I do these mock drafts because I'll sit here and I really never am in love with the team that I draft. Yet we can look and we can drool over a team like with someone picking right next to us in Dragon Isles. Okay, I'm assuming David Njoku was not supposed to be a pick here. I am removing that pick and letting Dragon Isles go again. Maybe that was just an accident in his queue because there's no way he intended to pick David Njoku at the end of the 8th round, even though I love David Njoku. So let's give him one more shot to make the selection, and if not, we will go through and make that pick for him. Maybe he's just having technical difficulties, whatever the case is. But anyway, let's go through and let's look at some of these other rosters and try to identify the ones that I don't like, the ones that I would prefer over my own team. So already on record saying Dragon Isles, love that roster so far. Okay, he decides to take Hunter Henry. Okay, that seems like it makes more sense. I apologize if you actually wanted David Njoku there. I doubt that was the case. Let me know, and of course you can You're a grown-ass man. You're more than willing to draft David Njoku at the end of the 8th round. I mean, you're more than capable of it. You're allowed to. But I just wanted to make sure that wasn't an accident. And here, we're also going to be going tight end just because this is a tight end premium format, and we wouldn't mind starting one in our flex spot. And I really like the value of Dallas Goedert here, just because you can sit here and say, hey, Zach Ertz is completely washed. Zach Ertz shouldn't be going in the top 14 rounds of a dynasty startup. But if you say that and also understand that this team doesn't have an alpha wide receiver, I mean, pretty much by default, you have to sit and look at Dallas Goedert going, you know what? He's probably going to get a crap ton of targets. And I think we may go a little bit off the board here. I know that he is so far down in ADP. Check out the board, okay? We have 3 wide receivers. We have 2 tight ends. So I know that we should be going with the running back here. But there's one player I really want. I can't do it. We're going to draft our guy, Odell Beckham Jr., at the beginning of the 9th. I really wanted to take this other guy. I'm not going to say his name, though, because there's a chance he makes it back to us in the 10th when Odell has no shot at making it back to us in the 10th. So let's take Odell here. Okay. So let's go through and let's check out these teams that we really liked at the beginning. Dragon Isles, Baskin, Jake James. So through 3 rounds, I really love these teams with the start of Kyler Murray, J.K. Dobbins, Deshaun Watson, Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris, and Travis Etienne, and Josh Allen, DeAndre Swift, and Miles Sanders. Since then, pretty much every team has decided to go heavy on wide receiver, and these are the rounds that you want to be going heavy on wide receiver. With Amari, Iuke, Claypool, and then here with Baskin, you have only Cortland Sutton and Tyler Boyd, but he got 2 quarterbacks with elite rushing upside in Trey Lance and Jalen Hurts. And he got that tight end that you can argue as elite upside as well, and Noah Fant if they can get the quarterback upgrade. Then Jake James. I think Jake actually probably has the best draft here through rounds 4 through 8. I really don't like what Dragon Isles has done here in the 8th and 9th round, because with Hunter Henry, I mean, he's going to be playing on a team with Cam Newton that there's not going to be a ton of passing volume to go around. And I know that there aren't a ton of great wide receiver options there, but you can look at Cam and you can go, hey, there are first and goal, and they're on the 2-yard line. We can safely assume that it's QB power. They're not going to be looking to draw something up creatively to get Hunter Henry his touchdown. So yeah, I don't like the Hunter Henry pick at the end of the 8th. I would much prefer Dallas Goedert and also Leonard Fournette in the 9th. I don't know if I am just sitting here and I'm just way too biased with age and thinking that Leonard Fournette is a really bad pick with Keyshawn Vaughn, with Ronald Jones, both having the team investment and probably having roles on this offense. Let me know if y'all like the Fournette pick and I'm just being irrational here. Okay, Terrace Marshall going off at the 904. I really like that Terrace Marshall pick. He's someone that I considered at the 901. I just really prefer the veteran wide receiver that has the track record of production. And it's completely different strategy, position by position. I mean, if we were talking running backs, I don't want to be drafting the veteran running back like a Leonard Fournette. That's when I want to be going with upside like a Chuba Hubbard. But if we're talking wide receivers, that's where I don't mind drafting the veteran, because we see these wide receivers play until they're 32, 33 years old. That's why I don't mind drafting an Odell Beckham Jr. So let me know what y'all are thinking here. Let me know if I am viewing this in a different way that y'all would. Okay, Dakota is saying LSU homer pick. Man, I don't even think that's a homer pick. I think that Terrace Marshall should be going in that range right behind Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. And also Mac Jones going to Jake James in the middle of the 9th round. Here, yes, I was way too low on Mac Jones earlier this offseason. Mac Jones, very similar to Daniel Jones, to be honest. I haven't heard anybody make this comparison, and not their style of play at all. But if you remember the draft process back in 2019, if y'all are playing Dynasty then, Daniel Jones wasn't really a quarterback that anybody was talking about. Daniel Jones didn't start getting top 15 NFL draft pick buzz until about 2 to 3 weeks outside of the NFL draft. And that's when it really picked up. People were saying, hey, Daniel Jones, look at this kid. He can be a top 10, he can be a top 15 pick. And nobody really believed it was going to happen. And then you saw the New York Giants taking Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins, and everybody, and their moms. And like literally, you could talk to anybody. And they'd be going, oh my God, can you believe the Giants? Can you believe Dave Gettleman decided to take Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins? And we sit here and go, yeah, neither quarterback has been that good so far through their NFL career, but maybe that was the correct selection. And I know some people want to say that Josh Allen was like that because Josh Allen didn't have the analytics coming into the NFL. And nobody in the Dynasty community really liked Josh Allen, but the NFL draft scout community did. Josh Allen was always projected to be a top 10 quarterback drafted that year. He wasn't that late riser like we saw with the Daniel Jones or Mac Jones. And I've been on record saying that a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people with their own podcast, whatever it is, they want to sit here and try to watch the tape with these quarterbacks. They want to sit here and try to dive into the numbers as if they really understand what's going on. And we are saying time and time again that scouts make a living, get paid a significant amount. General managers get paid millions and millions of dollars to spend every second of their day looking for that next franchise quarterback, scouting those quarterbacks, talking to them, talking to previous coaches, going and doing their job to a depth where we simply don't have the capability of doing. And you have some accountants on the side that want to watch about 2 hours of game film and tell you what rookie quarterback they think is going to be successful. No, that's not who you should be listening to. You should not be listening to some whack job like me on YouTube saying, hey, this quarterback isn't going to be successful. So what we do with quarterbacks in fantasy, what we do with them in Dynasty, is we don't waste our time trying to sit here and evaluate these quarterbacks on our own. We let the NFL draft do that. We let the team investment that is made into them tell us what we should be expecting in the amount of games that they start. We can safely evaluate their rushing upside with someone like a Mac Jones versus Trey Lance. And we can also look at the situation they're going into. So you can choose to sit here and listen to a bunch of people that are just accountants on the side, and accountants as their main job. And then whenever they get some time away from their wife and kids, they go, okay, let's put in the tape. Let's watch Mac Jones for 45 minutes so I can tell people what I think of him. Guys, that's not going to help you at all, to be honest. What we'd rather do is we'd rather look at Mac Jones, go, okay, yeah, we were low on him at the beginning of the offseason because if you looked at grinding the mocks, if you looked at consensus mock drafts, he was supposed to be a very late round 1, early round 2 NFL draft pick. And if you looked at quarterbacks in that range historically, based on what the NFL draft has taught us, and we throw in the fact that he didn't have any rushing upside, his historical hit rate was going to be very low. But now that he's getting pubbed to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, we can sit here and go, hey, if he gets that top 10 NFL draft capital, he has a guaranteed starting job for the next 3 years. Yeah, he's a great asset in Superflex leagues. So please understand where I'm coming from with Mac Jones. Completely transparent with y'all as always. So yeah, we were way too low on him at the beginning of the offseason, but here we can safely say that in the middle of the 9th round, I really like that pick of Mac Jones. Okay, Corin coming in says Goddard versus Henry, not a championship decision. Both are subpar tight ends. I would make the argument that Dallas Goedert is not a subpar tight end. Now, Dallas Goedert is someone that I've been historically low on because if y'all remember him coming into the NFL, and I believe that 2018 NFL draft had a fantastic rookie season, where Dallas Goedert, after his rookie year, when Zach Ertz was still at his peak, was going higher in Dynasty startup drafts than he currently is. People were so excited, and I was sitting around going, hey guys, it takes a while for these tight ends to develop. On top of that, we understand that Zach Ertz is going to be getting targets there. Why are we drafting Dallas Goedert in that range? But no, now Zach Ertz, pretty much an afterthought. Throw in the fact that Dallas Goedert has continued to progress since his rookie season. So this is another player that, yeah, I was avoiding him at his ADP 2 years ago because it was a little bit higher than this, and we knew that he wasn't going to give us a production for a while. But now I'm fully willing to buy in on Dallas Goedert at the end of the 8th round. I mean, behind someone like Hunter Henry, I love that selection. Okay, so here. Sorry guys, I see that the current picks are blocked. I'm not going to scroll up. I will slide over this way though so y'all can see them. And Jerry Jeudy at the 909, I want to give a shout out to that selection saying, great pick. Looked like Jerry Jeudy was way down in the ADP and C money. Identified it, was able to draft him here at the end of the 9th. I definitely would have gone with Jeudy over Odell Beckham Jr. if I noticed that he was still available on the board. So bravo, all I have to say, great selection. And I am jealous about that. Okay, so Kenyon Drake going off in the 10th round. Let's not talk about Kenyon Drake right now. What I would prefer to do is I'd prefer to scroll up and find where Josh Jacobs went off the board. And we were seeing that Jacobs went off the board at the 5'10". And I want to say Jacobs would be an intriguing buy low. But if we were looking at the players that went after him, I mean, would you rather have Josh Jacobs or Tua Tagovailoa? Would you rather have Jacobs or Matthew Stafford, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, Kenny Golladay, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield, Noah Fant. I mean, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk. I would rather have pretty much all of those other players over Josh Jacobs. So I think Jacobs probably went a round or two too early for me. I think that if Jacobs would have fallen to the early 7th, like after you get T. Higgins and Mark Andrews off the board and you're looking at Claypool, Julio Jones, Cortland Sutton, then that's where I'm fine taking a Josh Jacobs. But I think that selection at the end of the 5th was a little bit too early for me. Let me know what y'all are thinking about that, and let me know if I'm missing something. Okay, so Leonardo coming out says, can't you trade back or just draft Chase? Okay, I'm assuming that's referring to someone else in the live chat that was saying something. Okay, let's go through and find any other questions that we may have in the general chat. Okay, so it looks like Dragon Isles was saying he accidentally had David Njoku in his queue, and that's why David Njoku went off the board in the 8th round. I'm perfectly fine with that, my man. I just wanted to give you that shot to go through and amend that pick because I assumed, well, y'all know that I really like David Njoku. I mean, I think that if we lived in a different universe, if this was a parallel universe, there would be a chance that David Njoku was a top 10 NFL tight end right now. There would be a chance that he's a top 3 NFL tight end right now in that tier of a George Kittle because he was that elite athlete coming out of Miami. I mean, he was truly, truly, truly special. If you looked at his yards after the catch ability as well, and he was only 20 years old coming into the NFL. So David Njoku checked literally every single box, got the NFL draft capital, and probably got the highest dynasty draft capital of any tight end since Eric Ebron. He was going in the middle of the 1st round in that 2017 NFL draft that had Alvin Kamara going behind him, that had Kareem Hunt going behind him, that had so many quality players going after David Njoku. And maybe that's why I'm burned, and that's why I'm saying that I'm avoiding Kyle Pitts at an elite tight end price coming into his rookie season. Because in that 2017 year, yeah, you had players like I love David Njoku. I loved O.J. Howard. I mean, even Evan Ingram was really exciting, especially after his rookie season. And you find out that, hey, the historical hit rates on these tight ends that look like great prospects, they're not nearly what they are with the running backs. And the wide receivers are still even a little bit better than them. Now, I will say Kyle Pitts is even a better prospect than David Njoku was. But a lot of people are just now getting into Dynasty, really don't understand that we've seen some great tight end prospects not pan out, guys. I mean, we've seen some fantastic tight end prospects not pan out. And you see some other tight ends like at the top of the league right now. Darren Waller, day 3 pick. George Kittle, day 3 pick. Travis Kelsey was a 3rd round pick. So a day 2 pick, day 3 pick, day 3 pick. Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, all 1st round selections. Mark Andrews, 3rd round pick. Dallas Goedert, I believe a 3rd round pick. Will it say on a sleeper card? Yeah, just trust me, guys. I have I have a photographic memory with that. I could, maybe I'm wrong with Dallas Goedert, but Hunter Henry is 2nd round pick. Like, you don't see these 1st round elite tight end prospects really coming through and ever really living up to what they were supposed to be honest. Okay, but anyway, here, thank God we went with Odell earlier because now we can get the guy that we wanted last round. We're going to be taking Elijah Moore, 150 receiving yards a game in the SEC at 20 years old last year. So excited about Elijah Moore. Now, here's where we have a decision point. Do we go with a running back and just have to reach on him and say, you know what, the board is so gross at this point that at some point we're going to have to take a running back? Or do we continue to go wide receiver with the perceived value that we think is there? I think we maybe go wide receiver here. I think we're going to go with Jalen Reagor here. I like the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles moved back from that 6th pick. They moved to the 12th pick where most likely neither Devonta Smith or Jamar Chase are going to be available for Jalen Reagor to have an opportunity at that wide receiver 1 position for this team. So we're going to be taking Reagor in the 11th, even though, actually, no, I don't want to say I don't own Reagor on any dynasty teams. I think I traded for Reagor at one point. I think I traded for him at the beginning of last year. Okay, so Nathan Quantum coming in says, yeah, Dallas Goedert was a 2nd round pick. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. Eddie asking, what you guys think? I have no idea what you're asking, my man. You're saying, should I give up a 2021 first 109 Chris Godwin, Aaron Rodgers to get the 101 pick and AJ Green? So should I give it the 109, Godwin, Rodgers to get the 101, and AJ Green? No, you should keep the 109, Godwin, and Rodgers, and it's not even close for me. Okay, also I see that we passed 50 likes on the live stream. Thank y'all all so much for coming out and dropping likes. That helps us out significantly. I promise you that. And here, if we just keep track of what was going on, y'all know I was looking at running back, where that Jalen Reagor pick was, and if I was going to go running back, we would have gone with Chuba Hubbard. So nice pick there by Dragon Isles. I just couldn't do it. Y'all know that I have a problem that once we get past this tier of, let's draw it at Antonio Gibson, once we get past Antonio Gibson, it's so hard for me to go running back. It's so hard for me to press that button on a running back because I just love these wide receivers. I love Odell. I love Elijah Moore. I love T. Higgins. I'm not going to say Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor, I just took him because I thought the value was there. Okay, Corin coming in says, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a nice pick. Could be a top slot wide receiver for a decade. I mean, what's his real ceiling? Tyler Boyd? I prefer... Dude, I think that Jalen Reagor has a higher overall upside than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Or I think Elijah Moore has way more upside than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Elijah Moore is pretty much a slot wide receiver that can play on the outside and that has elite level speed. That's, you take Amon-Ra St. Brown and you make him just a lot better, more production, more athleticism, and you have Elijah Moore. Okay, Denzel Mims going off in the middle of the 11th next to the Kadarius Toney and Tylan Wallace. I will say the Matt Ryan pick here by Baskin, I do like, especially if you took Trey Lance at the 409, because at this point you go, hey, even if Trey Lance isn't a starter right away, you are going to have someone that can be that. Maybe you even see a situation where the Falcons decide to take Trey Lance at the 4th overall pick, and then you have you have Matt Ryan to start for 2021 and Trey Lance to take over in 2022. Okay, Corin Stewart coming out says, Elijah Moore is a great pick. Jitterbug wide receiver reminds me of Antonio Brown. Honestly, I kind of like that comparison. I know at this time of the year, at least usually whenever we have the NFL Combine, a lot of people want to bring up Antonio Brown and the fact that Antonio Brown didn't have the NFL measurables. He didn't have the Combine results that people were expecting, because what you want to be looking at with wide receivers is you want to be looking at that production. But still, I think that we can say that I understand the comparison where you're drawing it, where neither of them are overly large wide receivers, but they have that burst and they can operate all over the football field. Okay, Dakota coming in says, yeah, wanted that insurance quarterback. Yeah, man, I completely understand Matt Ryan in the 11th. I swear to God, I thought about Matt Ryan. Like, if you were in a dynasty league right now and you went over and you tried to trade Jalen Reagor for Matt Ryan, I guarantee you that Matt Ryan owner is going to hit that decline button. Matt Ryan is worth more in dynasty than Jalen Reagor. Okay, but Preston Williams going off the board here in the 11th. Curtis Samuel going off the board here at the 1109. Now, y'all know that I made the video saying, hey, I'm trading away Curtis Samuel right now. But let me show y'all exactly what that video meant. Okay, so if y'all remember correctly, I believe I traded away Curtis Samuel. I traded away Curtis Samuel for 2 separate trades. One of them was for Denzel Mims and Bryan Edwards in this mock draft. And I'm not saying this mock draft is everything, but you see Denzel Mims actually go ahead of Curtis Samuel. Now, I don't agree with it, but that's what we saw. And I will also say that we traded Curtis Samuel away for like the rookie pick 202 in a draft that also has James Robinson in it. So it's equivalent to the rookie pick 201 and Keyshawn Vaughn. So essentially we'll take the 13th best rookie off the board for Curtis Samuel. And let's count how many rookies have gone ahead of Curtis Samuel in this mock draft, just so I can kind of give you all some context behind the trades I make, because I know a lot of the times I make a trade and I know people are not going to like it. I know it's less than market value, but it's good value in my opinion, because Dynasty, you can predict how the market is going to change. Now let's see if we have 12 rookies going off before Curtis Samuel in this mock draft. Okay, so you have Trevor Lawrence. Let's go round by round. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Justin Fields, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Devonta Smith, Kyle Pitts. So you're at 10 already. Then you have, okay, a couple rounds, no rookies. It looks like Jalen Waddle at 11, Rashad Bateman at 12, Kenneth Gainwell, Rondell Moore. So that's your 13th wide receiver right there, Rondell Moore, who's going 3 rounds ahead of Curtis Samuel. So yeah, I think that pick, that trade I made, I know a lot of people wanted to give me crap for it in the YouTube comment section, but hopefully y'all can see a little bit why I made that now that we are looking at this situation and going, okay, well, yeah, you can look at the 202 and say Curtis Samuel's worth more than that, but Are you really going to rather have Curtis Samuel over 12 other rookies? I probably worded that poorly, but y'all know what I mean. Okay, Eddie's saying, do you still have any open spots for Dynasty leagues? I don't have any open spots for Dynasty Orphan leagues. Y'all know whenever we were filling those orphans so we could get these Dynasty startups going. Y'all remember I was saying, hey guys, I'm looking to fill these orphans. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be opening up spots on the original Flock Patreon tier, and I'm going to be covering the deposit for all teams. Well, those teams got taken very quickly once I made that announcement. But now, what the good news is we can finally go through and we can finally get these Dynasty startup drafts going, which I promise you, they're going to start. And I'm going to keep y'all updated with them. If y'all are in the Discord chat, you should get a link to it. You're not going to be able to join or anything. It's going to be for the people on Patreon that are on that list wanting in the startup draft. But you can view it. You can track what we are actually doing with different league settings. We're going to have a bunch of different league formats as well for pretty much anybody wanting to get in on some action. Okay. Also, Corey Davis here at the beginning of the 12th. I will say I really like this little turn pick here for M4G. I know I've given him a bunch of crap with some picks that I didn't like, but I really like the Robbie Anderson and the Corey Davis pick with the 11th and the 12th round. I mean, Robbie Anderson and Corey Davis have already been more productive in certain seasons of their NFL career than pretty much any other wide receiver in this range. I mean, more than Preston Williams, Curtis Samuel, Tylan Wallace, Kadarius Toney, Denzel Mims, Jalen Reagor, Elijah Moore, Michael Pittman, Amara St. Brown, even more than Deebo Samuel, not Will Fuller, Paris Campbell though, Henry Ruggs. I mean, literally like every wide receiver before them, they have already shown that they can be more productive. And like we talk about all the time, with wide receivers, you don't need to be too scared once they get on their second contract. Once they get on their second contract, you can ride that sucker out and be completely fine. It's not the running back position. Okay, but we are about to be up on the board yet again. And I will say, Evan Ingram, love the value there in the 11th round, especially now that the Giants, the Giants still in a range that I guess you could say Kyle Pitts can fall to, but I think it's very unlikely. Okay, A.J. Dillon going off the board in the 12th round. Okay, Baskin, I probably shouldn't have given you an invite to this mock draft because what the hell, my man? I mean, A.J. Dillon was clearly the best value on the board. Oh my God, that pissed me off. I thought we were going to get A.J. Dillon at the end of the 12th. Oh my God. Okay, so let's see now what we are going to be doing. Sorry if I have to go silent here for a second, but guys, I really need to think what we're going to be doing with this roster because A.J. Dillon was going to make so much sense on this team just as that premium handcuff running back, hoping that he gets some goal line usage in 2021. But y'all can see the roster right now. We have 2 quarterbacks in Mahomes, Wilson. We have 6 wide receivers, so we really can't take any more wide receivers. We have 2 tight ends, can't take any more tight ends. It's pretty much we have to go running back or we have to go QB here. We have no other option. So let's look at the best quarterbacks available on the board because there are about all the running backs are the same at this point for me. Okay, so you have Breeze, Gardner Minshew, Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater, Phillip Rivers, Trubisky, Taysom Hill, Cam, Drew Lock, Big Ben, Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, yeah, Jared Goff's going to be our guy. We're taking Jared Goff here just as that guaranteed 3rd starting quarterback. Okay, so let's get Jared Goff. We're going Goff over Winston. You have to go Goff given the contract. And then sadly can't look at the wide receiver position. We're going to have to go over here to the running backs. This is gross, guys. I'm scrolling. Hopefully y'all can see the names here. Let me know where you think you would go out of this group. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get your answer because there's a delay. I'm just going to have to make my own selection. Actually, no, this pick is easy. We're going to be going with Alexander Madison, a premium handcuff running back, just hoping that we are going to see him get any game time action. And no, we're not hoping for a Dalvin Cook injury, but you know what I'm saying. We've seen Alexander Madison before whenever he gets the opportunity to start to see over 20 touches in a game. Okay. So JN comes in and says, Davis showed the ability to be a wide receiver 1 when AJ went out last year. Yeah, no, Corey Davis has the upside to be an alpha wide receiver. I mean, he had the profile coming out of Western Michigan, and he was a top 5 NFL draft pick. And he gets a massive contract to go to the New York Jets. I mean, you had wide receivers like Will Fuller, Juju Smith-Schuster, really getting nothing. I believe they both got $8 million for 1 year, where Corey Davis kind of got the bag. I mean, Corey Davis going to a team that there are a ton of targets available. Hopefully, Zach Wilson is coming through and going to provide this team enough production to prop up Corey Davis. But yeah, I love that pick of Corey Davis at the end of the 12th. I mean, I think I probably should have gone with Corey Davis over Jalen Reagor. And here Jake takes Daryl Henderson. Oh my God, I really don't like y'all. I'm going to be completely honest. Okay, yeah, no, Daryl Henderson was someone that we wanted in the 14th. Usually we wait until the very end of these to take Daryl Henderson just because usually he doesn't go nearly in the range he should, to be honest. I make a video where in 2 days we're going to be talking a lot about Daryl Henderson. Okay, so we need to go through and we need to look at some more running backs. Rashad Penny, I mean, that pick kind of gets killed at this point just due to the fact that you are having Chris Carson come back to Seattle, something I did not expect. But yeah, our last 2 picks are probably going to be, they have to be running back here due to our roster construction if we're going to make this realistic at all. Pika Williams was someone that a lot of people are excited about. But Pika Williams, absolutely monstrous production in Kansas. Maybe I just know a little bit more about him because I've seen him play live a decent amount of times being in the Big 12. But yeah, just it doesn't profile to be the difference-making running back at the NFL level. Okay, so let me slide this down. Let me slide this around for y'all guys so y'all can check out the board. Okay, someone asking us if we can scroll down. Yes, I'm sorry about that, my dudes. Let me scroll down a little bit. Okay, I'm just trying to find a way I can put this box and show y'all the board at the same time. Todd Gurley going at the end of the 13th. Guys, I'm not joking. I would not be surprised if Todd Gurley was not on an NFL roster this upcoming year. I know that sounds bad, but I mean, he's made his money. Todd Gurley, please, man, just enjoy life. Don't mess up your knees anymore. Be able to walk 10 years from now. Mike Davis going off the board here at the end of the 13th. That is a fantastic, fantastic selection. Now, yes, Atlanta probably going to address their running back situation with another guy, but you can kind of assume that Mike Davis probably going to be in a committee there at the worst, and you could end up seeing him just get that full-time job, and you saw what that led to in Carolina last season. So love that pick of Mike Davis. Probably should have gone Mike Davis over Alexander Madison, to be honest. Okay, so JN says, thoughts on Sony Michelle? He took the majority of the snaps when healthy. My man. Sony Michelle at this point, we can safely say just doesn't have upside. I know that he was a very exciting player coming out of Georgia. He actually played at Georgia the same time with DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, and Todd Gurley. They were all on the roster at the same time together. Actually, Swift may have not been there. No, I'm sorry. Swift wasn't there with Gurley at the same time, but all 3 running backs had been together at some point. But anyway, with Sony Michelle, it's kind of funny that he was profiled to be a receiving running back coming out of Georgia because Nick Chubb got the first and second down work, and Sony Michelle was a little bit more that receiving running back. He was drafted in the first round by the New England Patriots, is a first and second down grinder, never gets targeted out of the backfield. And we see this team consistently invest into the running back position by taking Damian Harris out of Alabama in the 3rd round in 2019. It's also an offense that's not going to be putting up a bunch of points. They also have a quarterback that's going to be taking away goal line touches. So yeah, can't be too excited about Damian Harris. Okay. But anyway, let's go through Jimmy G going off the board in the 14th round. I own Jimmy Garoppolo on a lot of teams, and I'll say with Jimmy Garoppolo, the only thing that I can pray for at this point is go to Denver. Go to Denver. I mean, that would be so nice if they can make it all work out with the contracts. It would make a ton of sense. Jimmy Garoppolo would be a nice fit there with Noah Fant, with a good offensive line, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, KJ Hamler stretching the field. I would love Jimmy Garoppolo in Denver. He would be a significant upgrade over Drew Lock. But at this point, I mean, if you are of the opinion that San Francisco is planning on having Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback in 2021, you are just wrong. And there's nothing else I can really say about that. Okay, so Kyle Trask going off at the 1402. That was an auto selection. Let me know what y'all are thinking of Kyle Trask, though. He's someone that I need to be getting in the top 36 of our Dynasty rookie rankings on Patreon. I know that we don't have him in the top 36 currently, and that is definitely a mistake. He needs to be right next to Kellen Mond, in my opinion. So let me know what y'all are thinking about Kyle Trask, and let me know what type of NFL draft capital you think he sees. Okay, so let's go through, and JN is saying the best value on the board is obviously Donta Foreman at this point. Well, man, that's obvious. Anybody can see that the best value on the board is Donta Foreman. But anyway, let me show you all the board for anybody coming into this mock draft right now. And if you have not already, guys, go down there, drop a like on the stream. It helps us out so much. Okay, there should have been able to see the entire draft board. Okay, let me go through and one more time. All right, now we can move this sucker down. Okay. Okay, Harrison saying Saints reportedly have interest in Kyle Trask. Yeah, no, that's actually something that I could believe. I mean, I think that would be a nice fit. Obviously, New Orleans isn't going to be looking at Jameis Winston as their starter for the next 5 years. So yeah, I could see the Saints being a landing spot to take one of those quarterbacks. Tony Pollard, our next running back that we were targeting, going off the board here at the end of the 14th. Yeah, that sucks. That's all I have to say. Albert O going off the 1409. Baskin, let me know why you're taking Albert O here. I understand that he has the talent profile coming out of Memphis, but I'm sorry, not coming out of Memphis, coming out of Mizzou. But here with Albert O, I mean, he really has no path to getting targets on an offense that doesn't have a ton of production to begin with. So is this just, I believe in the talent so much that I'm willing to take him here? Okay, actually, we see some running backs we can be fine taking. Yeah, we're going to take 2 running backs back-to-back to end our draft here in the 14th, 15th round. Okay, Cam going off the board at the end of the 14th. I like that pick as well. I think possibly a winning dynasty strategy this year could be just to not bother taking any QBs at the very beginning, like loading up with CMC, Chubb, Eckler, Montgomery, or just say a better example of Baskin, Barkley, Harris, Etienne, and then here instead going with the CD Lamb, then a Calvin Ridley, then a Noah Fant, Courtland Sutton, just loading up with skill positional guys, and then going Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, and going, hey, I'm going to have 2 guys starting every week, and we just play the matchups. I mean, maybe that's something that you could look to do. Anyway, we're just going to be going back-to-back Buffalo running backs here, and I know a lot of people have been talking about Buffalo possibly taking a running back in this NFL draft, and while no, I'm not close to being a fan in either Zach Moss or Devin Singletary with their talent profiles. We can't sit here and go, hey, they both got 3rd-round NFL draft capital in back-to-back seasons. They're probably not going to be looking to take another running back in the top 3 rounds, the top 100 picks this upcoming year. So, yeah, I think Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, while they don't really have the upside because Josh Allen's going to be taking goal line touchdowns, which is the reason we really didn't like them. Devin Singletary is undersized. Zach Moss isn't a great pass-catching running back. They're not fantastic options, but when we were just looking for pieces to fill holes on this team, I think they're fine to be taking at the very end of drafts because they are still on their rookie contracts. Okay, Dakota says, I had Fant, so I figured I could just grab Albert O as a handcuff. I mean, I understand the thought process. I just really don't like handcuffing tight end. I don't like handcuffing at all. I really don't like handcuffing tight ends. JN says, laugh my ass off if the Saints take Sam Ehlinger. Then that would be fantastic. JN says, Texas up 6-1 going for the sweep against Kansas. Man, JN, let me know what you think of us getting the Texas Tech head coach. Let me know your opinion on that before I end the live stream. Really quick, you can also shoot me a DM on Patreon, shoot me a DM on Twitter. Really doesn't matter. I want to know your opinion on that, though. Okay, so Kellen Mond, Rob Gronkowski coming off the board here. I will say that I really like the pick of Michael Gallup. I mean, Michael Gallup, someone with a ton of talent, just not necessarily used the way you would want him to this last year. I mean, yeah, I think we can say Jake killed this draft. I don't love the 3rd-round pick, but it's just because he fell outside that tier. I mean, if a Travis Etienne fell, that would be really nice, but every other round, it was just smash over smash over smash. All right, so hope y'all enjoyed this mock draft. Let me slide it over real quick so y'all get the full view. Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, thank you guys for all coming out. Let me send out the link to Patreon real quick just to say, if y'all want in a real Dynasty league with myself and the other listeners on this channel, go DM me on Patreon ASAP because I'm going to be adding you to the list and we are going to be getting these Dynasty startup drafts going and you're going to be getting a DM in the order that you were added to the list. So here, let me send that out real quick. And then also, if you have not already for whatever reason, go down there, drop a like on the stream, and subscribe to the channel. I'm actually sure that everybody watching this by now is subscribed, so I don't even need to say that. Yeah, thank you, Dakota, man. Thank you, Baskin, for coming out. Really appreciate it, my man. Jayan says, laugh my ass off at Tech fans is my opinion. He says he left for less money. Well, yeah, I mean, you have, man, would you rather live in Austin, Texas or Lubbock, Texas? Really? I mean, anybody would choose Austin, Texas. Okay, Jason saying, should I trade Ridley and Eckler for Chase Edmonds, Chris Carson, and Justin Jefferson? No, honestly, I'd probably prefer Ridley and Eckler. But keep in mind, I'm someone that is always way too low on Chris Carson. I'm so biased against Carson. But anyway, thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all coming out. We streamed for about an hour and a half. So yeah, drop the like, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.